Hey everyone, hope you're doing well and that you enjoyed your extended weekend. Hopefully, you got to get away from school for a little bit, relax, maybe see some family. However, hopefully, you're still social distancing. So, if we look at the schedule here, today is April 15th. We're still working on Unit 7, but as you see here, we're going to wrap up Unit 7 this week. And then next week, we get into Unit 8. Hopefully, you turned in your focus notes yesterday. If you didn't, just make sure you get it turned in by the end of today. And I'll look the other way. I'll give you a little extension there, as I know we didn't have school yesterday. So get it turned in by the end of class today if you haven't done that already. So what we're going to focus on today is talk about Kohlberg's moral development theory, which is one part of your project. So this will give you some more background information on that. If you have already started on it, you might have looked at the website a little bit, but this should give you enough information so you feel comfortable about doing that in your project. And then it will be a quick overview of Kohlberg's theory, and then you can have time to work on your project. Project's going to be due 11:59 p.m. on Thursday. And then Friday, you're going to have a Unit 7 summative FRQ, which will also be a good research methods review as well. And then, like I said, when we get into Unit 8 next Tuesday. Tomorrow will be pretty short, just a little moral development application, a little practice for you in the video. So I'll also go over kind of the AP exam updates and talk about what that vocab packet is and why I think it'll be very helpful for you. So we'll go ahead here and jump into Kohlberg. So we're going to talk about his theory. We'll talk about where he kind of came up with this idea from, and then we'll talk through the three different stages, and hopefully that gives you enough background information to apply it in your project. And if you don't have, or if you feel like you need a little bit more explanation, just let me know. So we're going to start here. Kohlberg used this to study the idea of morals. So this is what we call the Heinz dilemma. And we'll talk about how he used this later on. But I want you for now just to think about this. I wish we were doing this discussion in class. Moral discussions are really interesting to do in class. So when we're going through this, think about what you would do in this situation, all right, and why you would do what you would do. So in Europe, a woman was near death from cancer. One drug might save her, a form of radium that a druggist in the same town had recently discovered. The druggist was charging $2,000, which was 10 times what the drug cost him to make. The sick woman's husband, Heinz, went to everyone he knew to borrow the money, but he could get together only about half of what it cost. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said no. The husband got desperate and broke into the man's store to steal the drug for his wife. So I want you to think about, should the husband have done this? Should he have broken into the man's store to steal the drug for his wife? But then the most important part of this is not just should he have done it, but why should he have not done it, right? What's your rationale? What's your reasoning behind why he should or shouldn't have done that? So that Heinz dilemma is what Lawrence Kohlberg used to build his theory of moral development. So Lawrence Kohlberg here is going to be, we would consider him a cognitive developmental psychologist because thinking between right and wrong, which is what your morals are, is part of that decision-making thinking process. So he's actually going to build off of Piaget's cognitive development. And when we talk through each of the three stages, you'll see how a child or an individual in Piaget's cognitive development stages would also have different moral and moral reasonings. So, like, for example, the formal operations, which is Piaget's final stage of cognitive development, where children are able to have abstract hypothetical situation, allows children to question right from wrong on a higher level. So when we're talking about morals here, morals are what you consider right and wrong in terms of your behaviors. what should you do and what should you not do, and what's the reasoning behind that. So with Kohlberg here, we're going to have 3 levels, and he comes up with this through his research through the Heinz dilemma. So what he did was he gave the Heinz dilemma to hundreds of people, and then he categorized them in 3 different levels: pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. Now, he wasn't worried about whether people said Heinz should or shouldn't have done it. He was more worried about what was the reasoning behind the yes or no. All right, so what's your reasoning behind why it was right? What's your reasoning behind why it's wrong? And your reasoning, your rationale, your explanation behind it places you in one of the 3 levels of moral development. So the first one here, pre-conventional, right? Pre-conventional would be before 9 years of age. So this would put you in the pre-operational stage according to, and maybe getting into the concrete operational stage according to Piaget. So here, the individual is going to have moral reasoning that's based on either avoiding punishment or gaining rewards. And this is very much an egocentric view according to Piaget. All right, you're just focusing on yourself and how your behaviors are going to impact what happens to you. So this is why operant conditioning, which is when someone does something, you give them a consequence, or which could be the form of a punishment or a reinforcer, is so powerful with young children, is because all they're worried about is whether they're avoiding punishment or gaining rewards, according to Kohlberg. So, like, for example, in the Heinz dilemma, someone in pre-conventional would say, yeah, that was okay for him to do, because now he's going to be considered a hero, and that would be like the reward from his wife's family or his own family. Now, more than likely, what someone would say in this situation, if they were pre-conventional, is no, because he'd be in trouble. He'd go to jail. There'd be some sort of punishment along with it. Right? So it's avoiding punishment or gaining rewards, which kind of defines what you believe is right and wrong. Conventional is now early adolescence, and this is when you're starting to lose that egocentric view, and you're starting to realize that other people have their own perceptions of you. So conventional here, think about this when you're probably in middle school or intermediate school. 5th through 8th grade is very much when individuals are in conventional development of morals. So here, the idea is their reasoning comes from upholding rules for social approval, or maybe breaking rules for social approval. So this is peer pressure, essentially, is what's happening here. So making decisions based off of how other people will react or look at you because of those behaviors. So this is, being considered a good girl or boy, or upholding law and order, or potentially breaking law and order for social approval. So, for example, someone might look at the Heinz dilemma and say, no, he shouldn't have done that, because now everyone's going to see him as a criminal, and he's going to have this negative perception associated with him. Someone in the conventional level could also say, yes, he should have done that, because now her family will love him for it. And then obviously you can probably think of times too when you were in a conventional moral development stage and you were making decisions about what's right or wrong based on, peer pressure. And maybe you did something that you didn't believe was right, but you did it because of that, wanting social approval. And then the last one here is post-conventional, and this is going to be in late adolescence or plus, or into adulthood. So now actions are going to reflect an individual's basic beliefs and principles. So kind of your core beliefs, as well as using the golden rule, which is thinking about, if I was in that situation, how would I want to be treated? So that's very much abstract thinking. So this is where formal operations and Piaget's final stage fits in. once you're able to do hypothetical situation, you can think about how you would react if you were in that situation, or maybe put yourself in their perspective and see it from their point of view. So, like, for example, if one of your core beliefs is that all people have an equal right to live, and doing something to save someone's life should be above any rule or anything like that, you would say, yeah, he should have done that because she has a right to live. Maybe you think the druggist was being outrageous by charging that much price. If you look back a couple of years ago, and it might have actually been last year, but there was and you see it a lot of times when a medicine or vaccine is made and it's a super high price, because the companies want to make money, but people think that's not right. You can really think about just like insurance in general. There's the discussion about universal health care. A lot of people have a core belief that everyone should be entitled to adequate health care, and that's where their belief that everyone should have universal health care comes from. Some people, that's not one of their core beliefs, so they don't think everyone, if you can't afford it, you shouldn't get it, and that's their core beliefs. Now, on the opposite end, no, stealing is not okay in any situation. So maybe you have a core belief that individuals shouldn't steal no matter what, and no matter what the situation is, it's never okay to take something that isn't your own property. Now, an even more recent example of this, and I'm going to post a video. A student in Block D actually shared this with me when we were talking about ethical guidelines. I'm going to share a video that it's about 30 minutes long. It's an episode of a show, but they actually tried to recreate what is now referred to as the trolley dilemma. I'm going to post another website that's kind of like an updated version of the trolley dilemma. But this is another good way to get people to kind of identify what moral stage they are operating at. So the trolley dilemma here, you can see the trolley is here. And once again, I would like talking about this in person because we can discuss it, but you are the person in the middle that is closest to the switch, the lever that switches the railroad track. There's 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are on the tracks. There's one person over here that's on a separate set of tracks. So if you do nothing, the trolley will continue straight and will kill the 5 people. So that's if you do nothing. If you pull the lever, it's going to direct the trolley onto the second set of tracks where there's one person. So the question is, do you do nothing and kill the 5 people, or do you pull the lever and kill the one person? So I'll tell you what, we'll do this. This will be our question of the day. So in the comments on the Google Classroom where this is posted, write or a comment about what you would do in this situation. And then just kind of wrap up, Carol Gilligan. She's going to be the main critic of Kohlberg's theory of moral development, really because his theory was biased towards males. Kohlberg actually believed that females never got out of conventional moral development, and which she strongly disagreed with. And she said that part of the reason why is because women focus on relationships when making moral decisions. Kohlberg thought that women focused too much on what other people thought and never actually acted based off of their core beliefs, which he looked down upon. But Carol Gilligan says that that's actually a higher level of moral development, is by when you do things, and that's where, if you look here, so this is her kind of stages: orientation to individual survival, right? When you're just doing things that are in your best interest, that would be very similar to pre-conventional, which is stage 1. And then it goes from selfishness to responsibility. Goodness is self-sacrifice. And then from goodness to truth, the morality of non-violence. And she believed that most women have this innate belief that the highest or the way they should determine right versus wrong is really based on the morality of nonviolence. So here's what you got to do to wrap up the day. Work on your project. That's going to be tomorrow, which is Thursday by 11:59 p.m. And then that vocab packet, I'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit more in depth and why I think that's going to be pretty valuable to you in preparing for your AP exam. That'll be due Tuesday by 11:59 p.m. So if you haven't started on that, no big deal. The project obviously is the most important thing to focus on. So if we go back and same reminders, right? Vocab packet due next Tuesday, project due 11:59 p.m. on Thursday. Obviously, if you have any questions, reach out to me. Let me know. See you all tomorrow in the virtual classroom.